I love meetings. Some people say meetings suck. It's like, no, sometimes the people that come to the meeting suck because they're not paying attention. In the meeting, as you watch their behavior, there are people that will talk and then they write, talk and then they write, and the writing becomes a deed. These are my people.
All right. Welcome to the Leader's Furnace. Rick, good morning.
Good morning, Eddie. How you doing?
Good. Rick, we always start out with a question that's really helpful for a lot of feelers and thinkers in our world. And everybody's either a thinker or a feeler. I haven't met another person, maybe a gut type, But essentially the question is, what is taking up the most mental or emotional real estate in your world? And so I wanted to try it out and just kind of bring you into that as well. How would you answer that this morning?
So for today, so to speak?
Yeah.
We're doing this morning at 5:30 in the morning. So we're getting up early and getting at it, and which is great. But, for me, I usually get up at like 3:30 or 4, plan my day and, get ready for the day. Well, that's natural for me. But lately I've been doing this behavior modification where I'll get up and not plan the day. So I did that today. So, as an Enneagram 6, I'm a little bit nervous. Now, I may not appear that nervous, but I am because the plan's not in place. So that's on my mind. It's one of those this morning. I was thinking about that. And yesterday I had, on the list, there was about 40 things left at about 5:30 last night. Those 40 things will come to life this morning. I'll have to get at it. But in my 6 brain, if I never did 1 to 40, I'd have been okay. But this morning I just kind of did it in faith because I need to break that chain and be able to just come in and just do it, just be, it'll work out just fine anyway. So that's on my mind. It's one of those, we're just kind of sitting here doing this video, kind of high-powered, stuff. And really, internally, it's a whole different ballgame. The ballgame is, nervous, concerned, overthinking, So as a thinker, that's going on. Now, I did listen to something since I've had to work on myself and kind of look myself in the mirror and not see things in there that are that attractive. There's some good things in there, but there's plenty of things that need a whole heck of a lot of work in there. And this is one of them. So it hurts. I could have just maintained the course and planned it out and controlled it and pushed it up the hill, but this is missing in my life. So today's that morning. So it's stressful and kind of out of control. Yeah.
That's great. As we are doing the Leader's Furnace, essentially the rites of passage or the journey through is just learning that one of the illusions is we're not just peopling. There's actually a personality at work, and you're a Enneagram 6, you're an INTP. And so you can hear it in your language as you're saying, hey, I'm waking up, we're doing this thing, but ultimately you're like, there's this plan that I have to go back to in your head, on your notepad, that you're like, that plan, if it's that plan isn't on paper, and if you're not controlling that plan is actually, you're not able to actually live out of that plan. And so it's a little bit different for you.
Well, a lot of people don't, if you're a 6, most 6s don't go this far with it, and they stay stuck in either a small list or a perfect list, and sometimes even the ones that have a perfection is kind of a list. But with me, I'm at odds with fear because I'm counterphobic. So there's a rubber band pinging back and forth here with me, and it's just like, so if I don't make the list, and if I get it under control, I can do 80 things per day really, really well, very aggressively. But if I didn't do that, I would have to stay in, kind of encumbered Enneagram 6 land to do maybe 10 really well a day because I'm afraid. So here it is. This is like, for me, and then also for other people, depending on their personality style, Each one of us have the same thing going on. The gut type people this morning, they're having trouble making the list. They're just like, look, I got it, man. I don't need a list. They got the same problem. They should be making a list today and acting afraid. And you see it. So all of us have to, what we call, turn the knob and rotate a little bit to try to become this other element of us, this extra, this unique 10% that every one of us need to get that's not naturally us. So I'm practicing that this morning, but it's never fun because the old me can just get up the hill and go and knock it out. And I feel good about that. But this morning it's going to have trust. I said my prayers a little differently. It'll probably be a great day, but it'll be a day of tension. So
I almost hear you saying you're not necessarily leaning into your personality today. You're trying something different. You're operating on faith beyond your personality as well.
Yeah, it's that practice. Everybody needs to practice that. So I'm in that, I call it rotating the knob a little bit. And I rotated the knob this morning by 10%, made myself uncomfortable to get me a new skill set over time.
There's 4 questions that we ask that create a lot of awareness for leaders. Obviously, we are doing this primarily for PMI, but there's people, your peers in the community that are watching this. And so these 4 questions help you understand your cognitive functions, or we call it a cognitive stack, essentially. All it is 4 simple questions that really allow us to understand your Myers-Briggs, right? Can I ask you the 4 questions? We'll go through them. So the first one is how you recharge. It's completely recharge focused. It's not actually how people-y you are or not people-y you are, even though there is some similarities and connections there. But ultimately, do you recharge by yourself on your own, thinking, doing, recharging you by yourself, or do you do your best recharging around people, around social functions, around connection with others? And is it okay if there's new people in the room? You know what I mean? Are you recharging as there's just people around? Which one would you say is your preferred mode of energy? By the way, when you recharge on your own, it's called introversion, being introverted. And then when you recharge around others, and the more you're in the work, the more excited you are to be in the work with others, and you're literally recharging, right? We call it one being battery powered, introversion, and extroversion is being solar powered. Which one are you?
Absolutely not extroverted. It was stressful just hearing it. I'm just like, bring in more people. Let's have fun. Let's talk. I'm like, no. That doesn't work for me. So definitely the introverted way. Mm-hmm. So what I'll do is I barely made it home on Monday, and because I was so tired, I'd gotten up at 3:30 and had gotten it done, got probably 150 things done, but I was driving home and I was like, man, I'm gonna have to stop and pull over. There just wasn't nothing left in the tank. Mm-hmm. And so when that happens, it's like, so I went home, I didn't do a whole lot, I just let my day expire. And because I can't go back out in the evening. So the next morning I got up and reset it. But that right there, I can't do it with people, because with people, there's a little bit of a fear thing going on, because I'm wanting to understand what they're saying and I don't want to let them down. So I'm kind of having to, and not only am I listening to them, I'm like overdoing what they want and over controlling the message to like make sure it happens. So I turn it off. There's nobody around me whatsoever. The benefit of being up at 3:30 in the morning, there's nobody around. Mm-hmm. So from 3:30 to 6, I can change the world. At 6 o'clock, I get my ass kicked. Mm-hmm. But from 3:30 to 6, we are cocked and loaded. And as a fear type, without having that 3:30 to 6, most people would just do it from like 5:30 to 6. And that 30 minutes is great. But when you do it from 3:30 to 6, you can't imagine what will happen for you. Mm-hmm. that is the launching pad. People, why would you do that for 2.5 hours? Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, because you have to convert the items from yesterday, put them on a new list for today, and then you add some new dreams to it, some new troubleshooting to it, and at 6 o'clock in the morning you're ready to go. So definitely the introverted pullback. I do a recorder. My recorder will load up at 50 plus per day. So the recorder has to be converted from 3:30 to 6. It has to be converted to the notepad into a to-do list. So, 150 things yesterday plus 50 due on the recorder. It's a heck of a list. But you can almost tell a person's trajectory by their list. Mm-hmm. You can. So that list, and then in the morning when I get up, early and I get the list at 6 o'clock, I look down at it, I'm like, man, if I could just get half a bite out of that, we'll make a lot of progress today. So in introversion, in your recharge time, it really is used to think, to write, to ideate, to envision. And that time for you is the most important part of the day, essentially. It's the foundation. Yeah, it'll go back to fear. Mm-hmm. It'll revert back because it's moving from fear to courage. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have clarity, the fear comes. And this is in Think and Grow Rich. It talks about this. Once you have clarity of thought, the fear diminishes and the courage increases. But a lot of people don't know that because they haven't worked on themselves that much. The next question that we have is, and actually before I go to the second question, we say often just to ask a clarifying question on the first one, which is introversion or extroversion. If you're having a party, your ideal birthday party,
How many people are coming to that birthday party?
Just me.
just you and what?
Just me. It's just the same thing.
Yes.
It's just like it's an amazing thing, and it's so good to talk about it because some people would bring 100 people.
Sure.
There's people in our family that are just really outgoing, extroverted, and it's so great to have them come to a function like that because they'll bring all kinds of people. And although it's a struggle for me, I really enjoy it.
Yes.
Because they're there, they're spontaneous. I admire their spontaneity and their fun. They're just presentness, where with me, it's just like I don't have to have that crowd. So.
All right. So the next question is, are you processing information in the present or are you processing information in the future? Right. So everybody listening up to this point should either be extroverted or introverted. You just write E or I, right? And then now we're moving to, are you present oriented, which means your sensory, S, sensory, is for practical, here, now. You're picking up on every detail. If there's dust on the pipes, if there's something missing, if one of the clocks isn't here today, or, if something has been moved since yesterday. And then also as you're processing information, you're going, hey, what's the practical thing that we need to do about this plan? How do we practically live this plan out? Versus, right? Intuitives. N is for intuitive, which is those who are thinking about like, I'm going to accomplish this. We're going to do this tomorrow. We're going to do this next week. We're going to do this next month. We're going to do this next year. And they have such a, they're so forward focused, right? They're thinking about the future all the time. And the only reason they work back towards the details is because the vision is so compelling of what they want to accomplish and do. And so which one energizes you the most? But more than energy is, which one do you tend to process in the most? The present, practical, here, now, or this is where we're going, this is what we're going to accomplish?
It's almost, I'm a creative pioneer, and both of those are forward-looking types. The guardian thing, not as much. That makes sense. So this kind of sounds like the debate of the creative pioneer compared to the guardian.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. And but for me, it's forward. Now I can do the present thing. I have to kind of pull back in gear. I have to pull back to gear one. But I like the idea of the forwards. I like the idea of the future.
Why do you pull back towards the present?
Well, you kind of have to. In other words, as we talk about this, a lot of people, you're born with a transmission that has neutral, forward, and reverse. It's like a caveman transmission. So it's great. You got forward, you got reverse. So many people live in reverse or neutral. It's just terrible to watch it. But some people get in forward and get going. Well, the idea is you have to add 5 forward gears and hopefully no reverse gears in your life. And these are things. These are gearing that's going on. So I'm okay with setting goals and being visionary, but I can't live there. I have to go back and actually do the work presently. So I can go forward, set the goal, and then break that goal down into the little list per boiler, per heat exchanger, per chiller, that type of thing, or per project. It doesn't matter what it is. So you got to be able to change that gearing a little bit and be forward goal setting, but you can't just, that stuff just doesn't show up once you set the vision. You got to go back and grind. Makes
That's
sense.
right.
So, but I would be probably 90% forward and probably 10% having the element where I can go back and really be with the work and make that list out. Because the list, again, is the strangest thing. People, you can see where people are at and they're headed in their list. It's just amazing to watch it. So, yeah.
When you are trying to goal set with people, you have them create vision boards here.
Yeah.
And that is really tapping into how you process information, because you help them see, hey, there has to be a clear picture of what you desire and what you want to go after. Right. And so it's you inviting them into most people in the world. 73% of people are present oriented. The nurturers and the guardians make up 73% of the world, which means there's this tiny little group of people, 27%, who are future oriented. And that's made up of all the pioneers, the connectors, and the creatives. Yep. It just, we're going to miss some present oriented people along the way. Right. So you're intuitive, right? So as we're tracking, you're either a sensory, which is present, or you're an intuitive, which is future, in your processing and how you process information. And then there's a third letter, which is how you make decisions. So you either make decisions based on people, principles, and values, which is the feelers, or you make decisions based on logic and systems. Now, the caveat is, like me, I'm a feeler. I make decisions based on people, principles, and values But then after I've made that decision, I also move towards logic and systems, and that's my second filter. So the question is, which one's your first filter and second filter? Yeah. And our first filter is usually a tell. There's a tell there with how we go about making the decision. And most fights in a marriage, in a partnership, in a team setting happen because of how we either process information or how we make decisions, right? And so do you make decisions based on logic and systems first, then people, principles, and values, or people, principles, and values, then logic and systems?
The logic's first, and then the people are second. You know, us sixes, we've had some people problems along the way, so we're not very people-y because some people have done some stuff to us that we found them to be not very trustworthy. Where from your world, extreme trust. You go right at it. You open it wide open with all kinds of trust. Me, I'm guarded. So with that, I'll think about the goal, think about the boiler, the plan, et cetera, and then back into it, go, okay, I've got a team of people here. We've got to be human. We've got to work together. We're different. How do we merge that to make that work? Yeah.
Can you talk to us at PMI how thinkers and feelers clash here as they make decisions based on people, principles, and values, whereas some make decisions based on logic and systems? How does that come to a head in a day-to-day here?
Yeah, we're kind of working on the extinction of the nurturers and feelers. Yeah, we're moving towards extinction like the dinosaurs here. We run them off. We don't mean to. And now that I'm more aware, I have to slow down a little bit and make sure they're not getting left behind, because this vision and this goal and et cetera is not very feeling oriented. It looks like it's great and it's awesome and you're going to go forward, but the feeling type people, they get left behind a little bit on that. So I got to really work on that because I don't want them left behind. I'm telling a joke about that, but there's been a lot of trouble at PMI with the nurturers getting hurt, or getting leaving because they felt there was just no respect there, So yeah, I got to work on that every day, and because they contribute, and they have a different perspective, and I got to work real hard to do that because there's a blind spot there.
Let me stack a couple of tools as we're going through this. We're still going through we're I and T so far, extrovert, introvert, intuitive versus sensory processing, and then thinking versus feeling, decision making. But as we are looking to the feelers, something that has been helpful here has been for them to learn communication codes, right? Where they're able to go, hey, there are essentially 5 different codes that we send out to each other so that we can be on the same page as the admin are training admin, as the technicians are talking to the admin, or the admin are talking to the technicians. And there's kind of a flow of work that's happening. And they're able to essentially either critique, which is to go, hey, punch holes in it. How is this not going to work? Collaborate, which is help me make it better. So I'm not asking for your critique. I'm asking you to jump in there and help me fix this. Then there's care, which is like, hey, I just need a moment. Like, can you just hear me out? This person's lost their mind. And so being able to unpack something difficult, either people wise, or just like, hey, I'm having a hard time like learning this program. And then there's clarify, which is, hey, I'm going to tell you my plan. I'm going to show you my presentation to Rick later today. Can you just ask a bunch of questions like he's going to, right? So just so that it's really clear. And then the last one is celebrate, which is, hey, let's just take a moment. The boiler went out. We got it there. We didn't think it was going to happen, but it's out. And so as we have feelers and thinkers talking to each other, a tool that we overlay over a lot of those conversations is, hey, I'm asking for your collaboration. I'm asking for your critique, or I'm asking you to take a moment and clarify, right? Whatever the C's are that are needed in that moment. And it helps thinkers and feelers kind of find each other along the way. Now, this is helpful for marriages, but it's also helpful in team settings. Is it one way that we can help, the feelers from extinction, essentially? You know what I mean?
Well, it's amazing because when I'm in a position, since I'm the owner and the founder, I can influence with my personality style. And that becomes a problem in all businesses and all companies because somebody's getting hurt one way or the other. That makes sense. So if I worked at a business where there was a really feeling leader, I'd be like, oh my God. You'd be like, look, man, let's make the list up and get started, because I don't want to sit here and kind of do the hand holding and the other stuff. I'll do it, and I want to be connected, but I don't want to do it for very long. But it's needed. So there it is. It's this thing that's going back and forth, and for everybody to be able to come to the team and feel respected, we got to make sure that both sides of that are accommodated. And where I've had a gap there, and I've lost a lot of people, now we're recovering from that, because again, like I talked about earlier, I'm turning the knob into growth. I'm turning that stop, Rick, and like, don't let them get left behind, because I'm influencing, and I don't even realize the downside of my influence. Where if there's a feeling type leader, the other thing will be they'll be losing us head types quite a bit, or us creative pioneers. We'll be like, look, I'm okay with this thing. I don't want to do Top Golf every day. I want to do the work. That makes sense?
You're saying it starts with you, and how you use and how you communicate and how you talk and how much you influence the people around you. What tendency do you have around, if it was care, collaborate, celebrate, critique, what code do you tend to get stuck in, and what's helped you connect to the nurturers and the connectors around here to be able to?
I just have to slow down, because, if you, in the morning, my investment is so great into the vision and the planning. When I get in, I'm just issuing orders, and that becomes a problem, because people feel a little bit consumed there. And
you're in full-on collaboration mode.
Yeah, part of it is a lot of people, if they don't plan like that, they plan together. Well, I enter into fear, where a lot of people avoid fear. Well, I'm a 6 type, and people are like, well, how do you enter into fear? Well, I'm counterphobic. So to enter into fear, I have to have absolute clarity. The absolute clarity creates a dilemma or a vacuum in the relationship, because I come in, I'm issuing orders, when really they want to collaborate on the plan. But I wouldn't have the plan if I wasn't a counterphobic 6, because I just come in, and if I was a regular 6, I just come in and play along. So here it is. A lot of
How
people,
much does the plan have flexibility once the plan has been baked?
0. 0. Okay. Now that's not totally true.
Sure.
I'll hold that line really hard, because if you ever sit in meetings, you just can't make this shit up. You sit in a meeting, the people you'll be in a meeting, there'll be 10 people in there, and you're pushing forward the agenda, and then somebody tells a joke. Now, people like that because it's connective and it's friendly, and then they're distracted. Now the subject has been changed. And then somebody else tells a joke. Well, the focused people become this, oh my God, they have no feelings. Well, the reality of it is, when you let these other people turn the meeting around into elements, you actually lose focus. So it's very important. I actually tell my teams all the time in a meeting, I'll start off with one subject, and then 5 minutes later, I'm like, do y'all see what you just did? We started off on subject A, and you've just turned this into D. This is a problem with people, because somehow they think if you push too hard, that's bad. Well, the reality of it is, if you become distracted and change the subject from A to F, you've really screwed things up, and you don't even know it, because you're just being human and collaborative. So there needs to be the controlling of the idea, and the idea, like in Think and Grow Rich, thoughts are things. You have to hold that, let it run out to B, C, D, E, F, all that good stuff, and then bring everybody back in day and say, hey guys, got to stay on this subject, because otherwise you're all over the place. That makes sense. And I think sometimes the feelers, that connectivity requires that, but sometimes they have trouble going back to the other part, and they get the feeling part of it right, but they don't get the focus right. So here it is. I don't really have that figured out either. I create something that has a deficit, and then the feelers have something that creates a deficit. It's like you got to meet in the middle there. So I got to let it run a little bit in meetings. Like, hey guys, push A through. This is our goal. We're going to build an 800. It's got to be done in 10 days. It's awesome. Let's be excited. They're like, we're not excited, Rick, because we feel like you just told us what to do. So this is going on all the time, and we got to be really careful with it, because our company's nature is forward, creative pioneer leader, Rick Reuter, counterphobic 6, massive amount of goals. You walk in that room, and there's 100 things on the wall of what to do, but that leaves the people with the feelings and those type of people a little bit left behind. I hate that, So I got to slow down a little bit and make sure they are valued and not feeling like I'm pushing too hard.
One, I'll celebrate the awareness, right, of being able to see forward-thinking creative pioneer, but then going back and going, hey, you have tons of nurturers, guardians, creatives.
Not really, but yeah.
Maybe a couple of connectors, maybe just one out of 200.
Just one or not.
And then and then being able to go, hey, how do I bring them along? But you've already showed up with a plan. A plan has the what has zero flexibility. What I do see happen is that the how has a lot of flexibility. You're like, how you get there is how you get there, and you kind of give people a lot of room to get their how right. And then even the when has some flexibility, the how has some flexibility,
but not the plan.
But not the plan.
No way.
This is true of a creative pioneer, right? And so this is you telling the story of a creative pioneer, not as a prescription, but as a description of what it looks like in your world.
And I can't even say but my own gospel. I mean, I'm aware. We've worked together for years. I've been trained to this, but I'm still, that makes sense to me. And I'm going to go that way because I'm good at that and not good at the other. But when this stuff comes up in the meetings, I have to basically, when that is in place, then I have to let the others realize it's like, hey, Rick just did what Rick does. Let's have you add to it in your style. So there's kind of this pause. The pause is, hey guys, sorry. It's not, the word isn't sorry. It's like, look, I'm me. You're you. Both of us matter. Let's figure out how to do this with both of our styles. Right? And you got to slow that thing down and let them know, because they know Rick's going to come in, he's going to be focused, he's going to have a plan, he's going to have a mission, we're going to go there. But then I have to stop a little bit and go, okay, what do you think about this? What would be your opinion on how to get to the same place together? And then we start making the list and the plan, and there the variations start, and they feel a little more value.
There are very key people that you trust that you invite into the actual collaboration of the
Only
plan.
The ones that have been through combat missions
itself.
The ones that want to talk in the meeting that ain't done it. You just sit in some of these meetings, you got somebody that's talking above their what's the best way to describe it? Is they're talking above their deeds, and you're like, man, please shut them. It's like, man, there's a tendency with Enneagram 2s to deploy pride, and then they start pontificating or start describing how great this is, and I'm just like, you ain't never done that. You need to shut up. Now, I don't say that outside. I say that inside. Okay, because outside it doesn't work very well.
Introverted thoughts.
But introverted. Sometimes they creep out a little bit and get snipered in there. But the point of it is that that's a problem, because what's happening is people know when you're talking above your deed grade, you're a partial bullshitter. I tell the two sometimes, pull that, just like they got to turn the knob, like pull that back a little bit, because this is not totally true, but there's a tendency for feedback. They want to say something, they got something to say, and they got to say it. But it's like, don't oversay it. Maybe throw in some humility and maybe say, I'd like to talk about this. I don't really know exactly what it is, but I want to describe it to me. But they tend not to do that. They got to learn to turn the knob also. So with me, if we're in a meeting and somebody's talking above their D grade, I do not like that, because people have tails. Okay, now we as humans don't have a tail, T-A-I-L-E, but we absolutely have a T-A-L-E. And what happens is when you walk in the room, you're toting that T-A-L-E, and it has deeds or words. And when we get together, if you walk in as a word person, you sit over here in the corner. You don't get to sit at the table. You got to have deeds. You got to do the work. You got to go through the grind. You got to suffer. You got to pay their price. When we issue stripes here, like let's just say there's stripes that you have on your shoulder. Some of our combat missions, they're stripes with like a slash and stitches. They're not something you put on your shirt. That shit's cut into you. I mean, you go through something, it hurts, and you end up with a slash, and it isn't a sewed-on sticker or a sewed-on decal. It's like something in your arm, and you see when you get in your room, you see these people that got 100 of these marks on their arm, 100 scars. You can respect what they have to say. Why? They have earned the right to speak differently. That makes sense? So we got to be really careful saying more than we know. Makes sense? Because it can make you look bad. And I'm a little bit bothered by that sometimes in meetings.
You trade on their credibility to have done it before, their competence of the work that they do, and that they've actually, their deeds, right, actually match their talking. And sometimes they're not actually the ones talking the most in any given room.
Oh yeah, the ones with the most deeds, they'll just sit back a little bit and sit tight. They're going to study a little bit because they know what's going on. And then what's happening is the talking people are at the table. And the deeds people are like, you're talking, not taking any notes, talking. You can't make this stuff up. You can watch people on a meeting. I love meetings. Some people say meetings suck. It's like, no. Sometimes the people that come to the meeting suck because they're not paying attention. In the meeting, as you watch their behavior, there are people that will talk and then they write. talk and then they write, and the writing becomes a deed. These are my people. That makes sense? I don't need this to talk and think. I don't need somebody to give me some damn hug. Because when I go up that hill in combat, there ain't no hugs applying. I mean, it's going to hurt. We need to be together. I need to know I can respect you. I need to know when I screw up, you got my back. When you screw up, I got your back. Stuff like that matters. We got to be with people. We got to train them. It's like, don't oversay it. Don't overly talk. And if you do, put a slight apology in there, because if not, you get discounted by the doers. That makes sense? Yeah.
The last set of the 4 letters is whether you're a perceiver or a judger. Now, this changes the personality a little bit, because the judgers, they're the people that wake up and take a bite out of things every day. But in some ways, they are just more methodical about their work. They try to finish things ahead of time. There's some what you would call oneness in there. There's a need to control the image of things, or there's a need to control the deadline. There's control. There's higher control. Yeah. Whereas with the perceivers, it's a little bit more. You do your best work under the gun. If you have something that you're going to accomplish, you're going to do it when there's 2 weeks or 2 days or 2 hours left to do it. And then in that last run, you'll actually accomplish a lot more than any other of the 80% of the time that you had to actually do it. I've learned as a perceiver myself to actually not even try to tackle things on too far ahead of time, because I know I'm going to change my mind. I'll get new data, new people coming to my world, and I'll go, that looks different. That looks completely different. I'll just start over. And so I end up just, doing my best work under pressure versus one day at a time as I get there, right? Which one are you, the perceiver, under the gun, or judger, which is one bite at a time?
It's probably 60-40. The others are like 90-10, but better balance here, because I'm going to go for a very specific target. The reason being is it concerns me. I encounter groups that have lots of feeling, and I'm a little bit against that, because I find it to create some chaos, because when I'm in feeling groups, they have to work with each other more. They got to accommodate, and it's absolutely beautiful to watch it. Don't get me wrong. Even though it's hard for me to do it, I love watching it. But they tend to be nice too much, and then can't lock down the target. But I'm probably 60% focused, get it done. The deadline is there. And maybe 40% on the perceiving side of it. So it's not as. And here again, look at these ratios. I think we're making a really big point here. Nobody has it all. I mean, imagine if I was 50-50 in all these elements, I'd be a much better person, a much better leader. But instead, I'm working on it, right? But in that example right there, I can do a little bit of both better. Where if I'm in a room, the planning element is 90%, and the 10% is the feeling and the nurturing. That makes sense?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm thinking through your creative pioneer. This is an INTP, which is the creative pioneer in the Myers-Briggs and the 5 voices. A 6, right? Which, you could be a creative pioneer and have a different Enneagram number, but predictably, this is kind of where we're at. INTP, 6. And, for people that know the language, there's it starts to tell you lots of data points, and it brings up different maps for people. And, the INTP, the creative pioneer, is going to be very triggered by time waste, by arrogant people dismissing your ideas. There's these different triggers that really correspond to the creative pioneer. And what it does is, under stress or sometimes immaturity, the creative pioneer will pull out their sniper and they'll lay it down. And then you'll be in a big meeting and you'll be like, well, at least I didn't, leave the gate open and $50,000 got stolen last night, and we all know who did it, but that person just got sniped over there in the corner, And so that sniper is something that, as soon as we get these 4 letters and we have the 5 voices or this locked in, we're able to go, hey, there's actually a whole predictive leadership behavior chart that says this is what it looks like under stress. A little bit of stress, moderate stress, and then this is what it really looks like under extreme stress, which usually means we are killing off the feelers today, right? Yeah. So does that match your story? Okay.
Absolutely. That is absolutely what happens. But there it is. Triggering shows weakness. If you're triggering all day long, you have to understand what we're talking about right now is awareness. And most people are going to come to work and say, I'm a great attorney, I'm a great accountant, I'm a great pipe fitter, I'm a great truck driver. And it's like, yeah, you are, but you totally lack awareness and you are suffering incredibly for it. Because everybody thinks their awareness score is really high. So yeah, I've been here, I'm 40 years old, I'm really aware. And it's like, until you can go this deep, you're suffering from not knowing. I mean, it's not your fault thing. It's just you didn't work to discover these awarenesses. So as we go through them, even with me, I'm apologizing as I go, like, I'm good at that and terrible at that. But by saying I'm good at that and terrible at that, now I got work to do and I'm willing to accept my work, right? So, but yeah, I mean, it's and that triggering thing. In meetings, you can see the different people trigger quickly, and then we kind of do a travel story when the triggering happens about walking people through that. It's like, you showed something and you showed your emotion and your anger. It affected the meeting because now everybody knows they have to babysit your ass, because that's what we do. I mean, it's when we have higher awareness and people trigger, we babysit their ass. And believe me, I say it just like that because I'm not real nice about it. It's like, man, look, you're the center of attention there, bud. You're angry, a caveman, grow up. And next time, let the other people talk a little bit because now we got to babysit you. And they don't think about it that way. I'm angry. Well, you got to work that through, right? I got to stop what I'm doing and say, well, you're angry. Why are you angry? Okay, you're going to be okay. Let me hold your hand. You know what I'm saying? So
You've been modeling for me for a long time, saying difficult things calmly. I think, talking about it, many people talk about it and it looks and sounds better when they talk about it, their work, than when they do their work. And then the doing their work is like, it's almost like the presentation to get you to sell you something is really beautiful. And then the work looks like garbage, versus when you talk, it actually sounds harsher. And then when we'll be in those rooms, you're actually maneuvering and doing the work with them and actually having these really hard conversations, but they're calm. They're calm conversations. They're about the same sound and cadence as this conversation right here, but they're real-time conversations where you're letting them know, hey, this is what it's like to be on the other side of you. This is what it's like we have to babysit you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I was thinking as you're going through this process, the awareness of yourself is helpful. But then what it does is you begin to fill that up. Then you start to have awareness of others, right? For such a long time, people have just traded on task awareness. And they're like, your skill. You said a lawyer, a pipe fitter, a project manager, your skill set. You have high IQ, but then you're missing the personal awareness or the others awareness, the EQ and the PQ part of it.
Absolutely.
Right. And so those awarenesses actually, I was going to ask, have you gotten to a place sometimes where you pull out your sniper and then you put it back down, right? Like that's the thing that begins to change is the awareness of like, I'm pulling it out, I'm putting it away, Has that happened?
It happens all the time because if you go too far with it, you lose. So what you have to do is, with me being a leader that is the type we're describing, I tend to overdo the lesson learned, and it's a little overly intense and less feeling. But then I got to pull back a little bit to keep the feeling in it, because I'm gonna look at it with extreme discipline, extreme objectivity. Because if it's me, I'm just going to take care of it. Well, everything isn't me. I make decisions that are black and white. I don't like the gray. The feeling people run in the gray. So I have to stop. And usually the travel story is the tool of choice. It's like, this happened the other day, and we saw this happen. And people kind of get it a little bit. That makes sense. We're using more and more travel stories just like Jesus did. And it's keeping people here longer and letting them know we are trying so hard to not let somebody feel that they're not valued. We're for you. We talked about that. We're for you. And it's like, we really are for you. But bear with me. All I can do is speak in my 64-year-old counterphobic 6 Rick Ruder, and I'm trying hard to get better. Now, if you'll allow me to do that, I would like to work with you to allow you to do that. And if we start off that way, we're going to get somewhere. Where before it wasn't that way. Now it's that way more, and it's just getting so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me finish the celebration of having hard conversations calmly. I think often we know that what we're saying is intense, and therefore we heighten the energy. We yell through that, or we, the emotional force behind really hard words versus just saying it to people as calmly as possible. It's actually, sometimes they know it's happening. Sometimes they don't know it's happening when they're getting to hear really hard information very calmly. Hey, you know what I mean? This is, you know what I mean? This is what it's like to be on the other side of you. You know what I mean? And that experience for leaders, especially calmly, allows for us not to create bigger problems in the delivery of explaining a previous problem, which is what happens often is in the process of trying to fix problems, we create more problems. And so being able to actually say that to people calmly is probably one of the hypotheses or something that we're trying out in this season. And we were saying it a lot in the different rooms, training rooms that we're in, even at PMI, are going, hey, can you say hard things calmly to the person working next to you? You know?
Yeah, but you have to be able to use a hammer and a feather.
Yes.
So what happens is some people want to send out an email and have a meeting that goes, hey, everybody, I sent out this email and this came from the president, and I want to walk you through this, and I'm sure you're going to do this because you care about the company, care about me. That only works with the greens. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. I barely send out any emails here. We do emails. It's called an email. It ain't an email. Like, look, we're going to talk about that together face to face, because weak leaders send out these emails. Well, the compliant ones do it. But there it is. The reds and the yellows, it's a different message, man. You know, you got some red people here, especially some really strong spirit. Just to say a really strong 8. They're like, first of all, as a 6 leader, and I'm dealing with an 8, they're already like, look, man, I don't respect you because you're weak, right? And I'm like, well, I got to reestablish that respect somehow, right? It's like, hey, you know, you're capable, I'm capable. Let's get past all the weakness thing. And you have to regulate the hammer and the feather with each person, because some people, their head is a 1/16 of an inch thick, their skull. There's some people that have 1 inch thick skulls. For those of us that have different gearing relative to motivation levels and doing certain things, you have to work through that level of thickness. And hopefully, eventually, it becomes a heart issue, not a head issue. That makes sense. Like, look, I need you to do the right thing. I need you to help me out. I want to help you. You help me. You have to protect me. I'll protect you. But it doesn't always work that way. And so many people want to use the same style. Like, I sent out an email and had a really good meeting. And, man, we had like Chick-fil-A. And we had like that extra sauce, and it went really good. And everybody left smiling and telling jokes. I'm like, yeah, it just doesn't work that way. It only works that way with a certain 1/3 of the group. How do you get to the 2/3?
You're talking about people wanting to be insulated through the process of leading others, developing others, leading others, challenging others, bringing hard truth to others. And you're saying, hey, the medium of that hard truth, of those hard conversations calmly, that is not email, it's not text, it's not snail mail. It's, hey, you and I are going to have a face-to-face conversation where I tell you your breath stinks. You know what I mean? You and I are going to have a face-to-face conversation where I tell you that the way you respond to things, it really is killing off the team. It's the morale is down just simply by what you are, not what you're saying, but how you're saying it. Like, whatever the nuance is in the challenge, right? We as leaders, our job is to be able to say, hey, this is the spinach in your teeth. And when we have those conversations, you're saying the medium, the me-mail, is more important than the insulation of email or that separation, which you're saying, hey, it's very low in its effectiveness. The medium matters.
Yeah, It does. It's more awareness. You know, the emails and all that stuff works with 1/3, maybe half sometimes. But what are you going to do about the other half? Complain and whine about it, and you got to do something about it. That's more of a one-on-one thing. We got to get a relationship going. And sometimes, that might be, look, there was 2 super high-level people that I admire. This was like 2 months ago that I admire at PMI. Both of them been here for a long time. And they both kind of come from the one camp. And they were struggling with the competency. Oh, my God. Okay. Quality of work. Oh, my God.
They trade on competence and credibility.
But their relationships were sagging. And there was another group that tended to be more feeling oriented. more connector oriented. And they were on the other side of them. So now as a leader, I got this high performing, strong, direct kind of in your face group, and they're doing a great job. But I had to say, look, now as a leader, your division is at odds with this division, and this becomes my problem. And I spent 1 hour with them talking about strength and weakness relative to their personality style, and said, I need you to help me. Okay. In the past, this was 10 years ago, be like, look, I have a problem and you're it. That makes sense. So I need you to fix this problem for me real fast in a hurry. But now it's like, hey, I need you to help me. And you're coming out, there's a different style going on here. The two of them are just absolutely outstanding. And I admire both of them tremendously. And I thought it'd be so hard for them to do it. And they did it. And the people on the other side were like, oh my God, what happened, Rick? How'd the meeting go? Because there's something happening here. And I told them, look, you owe them a thank you, because they rotated their person out 10% on the knob. This is the hardest thing to do ever. They modified their behavior. I asked them to do it, and they did it. I'm hoping it's going to last. So far, it's lasted so far. Man, if we can get that done, but you have to thank them for doing that. I needed the service department to basically thank and say, thank you for adjusting and helping us have a better relationship. And I told the service people who were on the receiving end of the intensity, like, you owe them something back. That makes sense. Don't just don't receive it.
You wanted both sides to be responsive versus resistant to the messaging and the desired outcome that you had for them.
Yeah, they were losing. They were in an argument, and they needed to be together, because what they do here is like tied together at the hip. And both groups are outstanding. They approach it a different way. And I admired the two people that were involved in that. I absolutely admired their rotation. That stuff is so hard. It's just like, it's incredible to watch it. So much respect for it. But there it is. And that's when if you don't have awareness, you never get to that. But all it was Enneagram oneness approaching this kind of the other group had tendencies for like 2-6 in it, 3-6 in it, and 8-9 in it. But it definitely wasn't oneness. And they had collided and became a problem for me. And I had to walk them through that. And they've, so far, the two people in this group that did this, that thing they did is the thing we all need to do. I admire it. They rotated by 10%. They're holding the line. And whenever people do that, they're sweating bullets for that, because it's not natural for them. And they did something that's not natural. There's that knob 10% rotation.
I realized that you even spoke to this already. You kind of went right back past it, which is there are people who are going to respond proactively, or they're going to respond positively to what you're saying. You're saying, hey, these ones, they responded positively to what you told them.
Yeah, ones are not that into sixness. They're already since they're perfectionists, they're already got it figured out way more than I do. You know what I'm saying? So they're reformers, right? So think about that. Perfectionist reformers. So they're pretty locked down on how they feel about what they're doing. Well, that collides with this head type right here. And I'm the person that gets that from 3:30 to 6, because they're already sharp and they're already very right. But what happens is you get up at 3:30 to 6, and no Enneagram number can keep up with that unless they're doing the same thing. That makes sense. So I come in with a pretty intense plan, and they'll come in with their plan, and now we have this little bit of a rebellion going on. Makes sense? So we got to work that through, because and this is just a tribal story. The thing I'm telling you right now has already been told to 25 other people, because I want everybody to realize this happened for us, and it isn't just about the service group and this group. It's about the whole company together. That makes sense? Okay.
Absolutely. So there's actually a very simple system that you use at PMI called green, yellow, and red. And there's a huge build out around what green means, yellow means, and red. I want to speak to how people respond, the build out of how people respond. Green people are wise people, right? They respond positively reactive. They respond in a reactive way, but positively. And then you have positively proactive people. We call those people X. They are going out of their way. We have like a super admin person here who's way beyond an admin now, right?
Almost like green.
Green is what you call it, X, right? And that green, they are literally going out of their way to train the people around them, build them up, and bring them into another level. Yeah. And then your guys that you had to talk with, they were positively reactive, which is plus, green. And they were able to take the information and go, I hear you, don't like it, we'll try it,
Yeah.
Then you have yellow, which is what we would consider foolish. They're in the line on the line. They're usually negatively reactive. And maybe there's some unawareness. They're negatively reactive, not maybe by will, but just by unawareness, essentially.
Yeah.
Lack of build out, right? And then you have the divisive people, which are the red, which at times you could be like, division is evil. You know what I mean? It's when somebody is proactively trying to hurt you, right? And that's, we would just consider the opposite of good, which is evil, And so that's divisive, that's the red. And so as you are talking about giving that hard feedback calmly, you're saying, hey, you have to make sure that you said it quickly. You said you have to make sure that they're green, because it's that hard feedback. You have to make sure how it's going to land with the yellow, and it's not going to land well with the red, right? And so how have you implemented green, yellow, and red at PMI over the years as you're watching and seeing people, right, operate here?
And that's why it's a travel story all day long, because we tell people, we talk about the greens, and then we talk about so many times the reds, they've had 20 jobs and everybody said the job's going to be good, and it wasn't, or they had a bad leader. It isn't just as simple as they're bad employees. They're disenchanted. And sometimes they are bad employees. It's real simple. Look, I'm not paying you to drag the company down. I can get rid of you. You have to contribute. So there's a complexity there. A lot of people, it's almost unfortunate. There's that saying now that's about the worst saying ever. It's all about the Benjamins. It's all about the Benjamins, huh? So it's all about the money. It's not about the servanthood or the respect, huh? Just the money. What a filthy statement. You know what I'm saying? It's so selfish, right? It is. It's all about selfish, all about you, right? It's not about what you did for someone, because there's a transaction of value and service happening for the money, right? Yeah, so we talk about that. It's like, look, take some pride in it. It's a servanthood thing. Quit being selfish. It isn't all about the Benjamins. And at the end of the day, the Reds lack Benjamins. I mean, the Greens have all the Benjamins they want. Why? Because we're going to feed them money. Because they're here, they create value, they create profitability, they create savings, they create tempo. Where the Reds, you got to watch them and keep an eye on them, over supervise, control them, right? And we try to talk the people out of red. It's like, look, man, you got to get out of red. And I'll go into my real nice smooth tempo right now about being a really professional, caring leader. So I just want to make sure for the next 2 minutes I talk about that, because inside it's rage. So right now, what we would want to do with the Reds is we would want to work with them in a way that is conducive with upward mobility, that way they can be better people and better servants in our community. Well, the other side of that is, I'm going to smoke your ass. That makes sense. I'm going to smoke your ass.
That only lasted 20 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, let me help you out. I'm Nostradamus. I'm going to predict your future, and it ain't pretty, cowboy. Well, and sometimes that helps a little bit. I've had a couple of conversations like that where somebody's like, thank you for talking to me like that. I'm like, Jesus. Well, sometimes a really strong 8, they don't deal with, hey, buddy. They deal with alignment and hierarchy. So here it is, different language for different people. But inside with me, as a counterphobic 6, and imagine being an employer and you're paying somebody and you're doing this. You're like, you lied to me in the interview, asshole. I interviewed you and you made it sound like you're really you interviewed as green, right? And then we got you in the company and we found out you're red. I don't owe you shit. I'm going to give you something as a parting gift. Let me calm down now and think about the Lord just with that. Now I got responsibility, because the Lord's like, Rick, feed my sheep. And it's like, Lord, I'm Rick. And he's like, Rick, feed my sheep. I'm not good at that sheep feeding when they're rebelling and resisting while I'm paying them. Rick, feed my sheep now. What we do with the Reds is we tell them, you got 2 shots, and I'm going to give you 2 shots. I'll meet with you one-on-one. And a lot of times it's teed up like this, like, look, we're going to give it 2 shots, but I just want to let you know I'm working real hard right now to get through this. So I want you to understand what will likely happen if I don't get some compliance. Now, I love you because Jesus told me to love you, red person, but the heat's coming. Please comply, otherwise we want to fire you. And I don't want to because I picked you. I mean, I take EQ and PQ to the interviews, and it's like I'm pretty good in the interview at figuring out talent or not talent, or maybe a person's deficit and what they need to build them out. But it's like when you lie in the interview and then get in and want to take our money, or be it a person on the team, the green greens are seeing these reds and they resent it, but they don't know what to do with it. So all these things come together, and man, I don't want my fellow Americans, I don't want any Americans left behind. They're my fellow Americans, my brothers and sisters. But sometimes with the Reds, they just got to go somewhere else and go through hardship and then maybe come back later as they got to grow up a little bit, you know. So it's actually sad. You know, it's sad they get left behind, but we tell them you're going to get left behind. And I tell them, it's like, I'm going to be real nice right now where there's rage in here because, we're paying you $30 an hour while you're resisting. I mean, think about it philosophically. It's just foolish. But America's been taught that work sucks and having a job sucks, and employers steal all your money and don't care about you. It's like, well, there it is. We got to work. We got to work. A lot of times I tell people, I get 2 employees that I told on Monday in a group of 25, do not trust me and do not respect me. You don't know me. Just because I employed you and my business card says president, you do not trust me and you do not respect me. I will earn that. And the same thing applies for me to you. I don't know you. We do not issue trust and respect on credit here. That makes sense? And it's no different for me than you. You will earn respect and you will earn trust. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So here's the tribal story coming out, right? Mm-hmm. And we're just trying to paint a picture of this is our world. How do you fit in it? If you can fit into that and work with us, we will let you into our culture and we will let you into our lives. If you're going to come in here, those green greens are seeing those reds and they resent it. And there's a lot of sixes in that green thing. There's a gathering of sixes in there, and they don't want to say anything because they're pacifists. Mm-hmm. But don't think for 1 second they don't have rage because you're a slacker and they're not, and they know it. You just can't say it. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So here, we work that out with language. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. In a sniper, it's a bulldozer. That makes sense. The sniper is like, you don't know where it's coming from. This here's a bulldozer. You'll know it's coming through. That makes sense.
It's the pioneer part of your personality.
Exactly. It's just like, come on, man. We're not going to pay you to not work and contribute. It doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. And the people here, the green greens all the money's made with the greens and the green greens. There's no money made here with the reds and yellows. All it is managers babysitting them, watching them. You have to over supervise, and they're disenchanted or they don't have awareness. So how can we lessen the disenchantment from previous jobs? How can we increase awareness? Because you're going to suffer because you won't take as much money home to your family. Mm-hmm.
Where it gets really interesting is your team has this language, right? I would almost say everything we've talked about today is familiar to them, from personality to responsiveness, to whether you are wise, foolish, or evil, or X, plus, minus, or divisive, or green, yellow, or red, right? I mean, there are some people who get this so well, right? They're not only positively reactive, they're positively proactive. It's the green that you call it. And we just have to have parallel language because you've used that language for so long. You're like, hey, this is all that means. And you actually have people who will pull you aside and say, hey, that person's green. They've been here 9 months, a year, a couple of years now, and they're technicians. And yet but they're on the move. Mm-hmm. And so that allows you to set aside the me time, the investment to them to actually go, hey, we're going to invest in this group of people so that they stay green.
Imagine being a leader that treats everybody the same and like, oh, I treat everybody the same. It's all about equality. You think the greens think it's equal when they're doing double the work for 15% more money? In America, people talk about the minimum wage is bad. Oh, whoa. And man, look, we haven't paid people less than $15 an hour for the last 20 years. You can't even go to have a car for $15 for less than that. So minimum wage is there, but let's just for a second talk about something that's not talked about. Since minimum wage is such a bad thing and it's evil and we should pay people more money. Wow. Well, let's just spin it around a little bit and look at the greens. Mm-hmm. They show up giving, and they know they're giving more than everybody else. And, they make just a little bit more and they do so much more. I personally think after having had thousands of employees and having done this for 45 years, The green greens are the most abused. Not the minimum wage people. It's the green greens because they're trying to keep the flag up. They're trying to hold the line. They're trying to do the right thing while other people don't. And they get like this much more money. God, I remember when I came up, I just saw the people I was around early on when I was with this other company. There was like 20 employees there, and each one had a different style. And most of the styles were selfish styles, not for the company. I think it should be for yourself and for the company. Now, keep in mind, I'm a 6. I'm a loyalist. But they were absolutely disloyalist. And I saw that, and it's like, man, what I should be is like everybody else. Well, why should I do it if they don't? It's not fair, right? But there it is. You see that? There it is. In the world, we see people. When I interview people from the shipyard, the interviews are almost always the same. I'm leaving. Well, why are you leaving? Well, because there's 4 assholes sitting over here laughing at me about how I'm working while I'm working and doing my job, and they don't have to. And I can't handle doing it. And I tell people, like, don't ever try to equal the lesser. It's just complicated. Just
You're talking about and I think this is a good place for us to land the plane today. You're talking about culture and how green greens create culture, right? You have places like the shipyard, you know what I mean? And you realize that as people are treated equally across the board, regardless of whether they're green, right? Or they'll ruin greens, they'll become yellows or reds just because of the culture is not supporting, celebrating, promoting, developing the greens who are in their culture, right? And so the culture is created by greens. We say a couple of things. There's the culture is created by greens and green greens, and the culture is created by new people coming on board. Why? Because they will either become green and get developed into green, or they're going to go by the wayside and go yellow or red. And so you end up having the multiplication and the culture becoming green based on the new people coming in.
The yellows are not sure whether to go green or red. They're a little bit confused. They're not sure where they're at. So they're in play. And we have to talk the yellows to green. We also have to talk the reds to yellow. But I tell people all the time, red to yellow, woo, good for you. You still lied the interview. Makes sense? You still lied in the interview, whether you know it or not. There's ethical issues with your presentation and your interview, you little liar. It makes sense. You come in and negotiated for $30 an hour and you're worth 12, right? But now we're stuck, right? You're here and you're red. Now we got to babysit you. So all these things matter. And what we want to do is, my fellow Americans and my brothers and sisters, is that we got to try to get those reds to yellow because they have families and environments, and they affect those. They go home and work sucks and I hate my job. And the children are taught these things. My children never, ever heard me say that. And believe me, my job sucked plenty. But as a parent, I wasn't ignorant enough to go home and make them my counselor, or make them my, the little counseled people. I always say, it works okay. Yeah, I did a lot today. We got a lot done. We took care of some customers. But so many people go home and work sucks and I hate my job. When you tell your children that, they kind of hear that and remember that when they get older. That's why America's full of people that are taught your job sucks. It's like, I don't know about you, jobs looks like a vehicle to me, a vehicle to other means, right? If I serve at my job really well, I'll have provisions for college educations, automobiles, vacations, but instead now see the conflict and see there's an awareness issue with the reds and yellows where they got to slow that down, or they got to slowly rotate that out a little bit because it's affecting them. Makes sense? Yeah.
All right, I'd love to end with this, and this is maybe a message to your people, the greens, the yellows, the reds. And you're telling me, but I think it's probably easier if we just start with the reds and going, hey, if you were going to have a message for the reds to yellow and a message for the yellows to green, right? And people know who they are. Sometimes there's awareness, sometimes there's not, right? But what would be your message to the reds?
Well, let's figure out which mode I'm in. Mode A is professional, evolved, higher level, age 64 Rick. So let's answer that one. Hey, everybody, I love you. Thank you for being here and being a part of our team. Without you, we are nothing. Okay. Please contribute and each day serve each other in our culture and community. We've got to take care of our customers and, all that stuff. Now, the real me inside, because that is a very controlled response, is it's like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe the world is like this. And I think a lot of people are like that. They're confused. They're frustrated. Why is it so hard? Well, without awareness, I just want to be honest about it, because I could sit here and create image, right? Wow, look at my business. I'm a president. I've been doing this for 40 years. And look how calm I am. And my message is so smooth and elegant. I listen to NPR on the radio just to kind of accentuate who I am, right? Because I'm just classy. Right? Now, yeah, I need to do that for presentation, but it's not the real me. The real me is like, you're getting left behind, dude. I know you. I've seen you. What are you doing? You're not fooling me. Let's stop fooling and get to work. You're going to lose here, and I'm not playing. That makes sense? There's rules here, and we're not playing around with it. Come on. Let's go up the hill together, buddy. And with me, it's like, usually it's childhood issues. And it's like, I will go right to with that. It's like, man, some people are like, tell me you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be a counselor. You should be a boss. And the boss thing's over with in America. I think it's just being a friend. It isn't. You can't. If I'm a boss, the connectivity is not there. If I'm a friend and a leader, I have the connectivity. That makes sense. But with me, there's an intensity there with Counterphobic 6. I'm just like, there's a long line of people that aren't here, Bubba. You want to ask around? Yeah, you might want to understand the hazard of this conversation. Well, I'm like, Jesus saves, brother. It makes sense. Yeah, Jesus is going to have to save your ass here shortly, because I'm going to go through you like Grant went through Richmond. That makes sense. And it's like, no, you got to go to work every day. Your family's watching. Your family needs you. Why have you lose this job and go lose your next and your next? Let's fix it together here.
Yeah.
You're red, buddy. Let's fix it together, man. And then tell me what happened in your childhood. You know, my mother was an alcoholic, and my father wasn't around. He was a womanizer. It was scary when I was a child. And they go, okay, now we're getting somewhere. If we can maybe try to heal that a little bit. You know, you don't trust people. You've been betrayed a lot. If we can heal that, we can get off this red and get to yellow. That makes sense. We've had a couple people here. I'm so proud. The greatest employee thing I will ever do is take a red to green. When I hired greens and they're green, I didn't do shit. There's no leadership. They come in awesome. And I could say, look at my team. I didn't make them. I hired them.
So for the reds, you're saying, and this is powerful and this is real. You're saying, hey, look at your story. You can heal.
Absolutely.
That's great.
And then people know my story. People know most stories here. It's like, look, a lot of us come out of ditches, man. Let's walk out of this ditch together. I've been in the ditch. I'll help you out, brother.
You're saying we have a very similar starting line.
Yep.
And we can heal.
We're going out the ditch together. But if I walk you out of the ditch and you roll your ass back into it, don't be blaming me and don't be blaming America. It's your fault. Most of the things that are going on, it's inside out problems. And they call it an outside in problem. It's an inside out problem. So if you're wounded, like we talk about in there, like as we bring people in and we heal them and we send them back out at PMI, we will walk you through that because we've been through that. Yeah. And we know how bad that is and how hard that hurts. And your family's not exactly what it should be. It was lonely. There were no resources there. You heard other dysfunctions that even accentuate that further out. Okay, in the rearview mirror, 10 of us went through that too. You and I have been through some of this too. It's like, hey, you can make it out, but you're going to have to get your shit together. Okay, you're going to have to start. Don't be listening to the lunchroom message. You need to be listening to things in the morning, listening to every morning for 30 minutes on the way in. I listen to something that is Christian, and I need it. It just gets myself right. Or listening to we have some books here, and we have some tapes here, just something that takes you away from the lunchroom's message. Because the lunchroom it's all screwed up, it's stupid, this sucks, everything's wrong. It's like, no. Listen to people that talk about they made it out and they made it, but you have to change your mindset. Yeah. We got to get them into that.
That's great. How about the yellows?
Oh, the yellows, the confused ones. They've been to places where it was good. They've been to places where it's bad, and they're not sure which way to go. It's not, a lot of times they'll be around leaders that are, there's three kinds of leaders. There's the ruiner leader and the user leader. A lot of times yellows have been around ruiners or user leaders, and they're disenchanted. So I'm not blaming them right now. I want to blame other things, let's call it. But they have an obligation there. I was around some ruiner and user leaders too, but I prevailed. And I asked to be transferred over time. I didn't ask quickly. I had to pay my dues, but eventually, like, hey, a lot of people already knew who's who. And I went to my boss and was like, my boss that was above my boss, I'm like, I want to be somebody, and I'm over here. And the boss is like, I know. I'm like, well, if you know and I know, at some point, could you move me over with a real grown-up leader that's got a positive message and is not a piece of shit? I would prefer that because every day I'm with these other people. I'm getting drugged. I got a family at home, and I'm not letting my family down. I need to, and eventually they let me go with other people. So the yellows, a little bit of confusion there. They're not sure. And so with them, we tell the tribal story is told. I'm almost telling a tribal story now, actually. But it's told this way every 3 days at PMI. This is what it looks like to be red. This is what it looks like to be yellow and green. So the yellows, they're in play. They can fall to the red. They can go to the yellow. We have that bell curve here where it talks about in America, there's a bell curve that
Engagement.
The engagement chart. And there's the disengaged ones, the engagements. The greens contribute incredibly. The reds are a drag on the system, and the yellows are in the middle. They make us a little bit of money, like squeaky money, like you need a microscope to see it, because they're being watched a lot and being checked a lot, mentored a lot, maybe disciplined. But we got to get them to green.
At PMI, we have a process where we say we choose people, we bring them in, right? And so as we bring them in, there's healing, right, from red to yellow. And then from yellow, red, yellow to yellow, green is we call them up into their identity and purpose. And you're saying, hey, the yellows usually have confusion. There's a lot of confusion there. But if they can know who they are and they can know why they're here, and just try to discover, get some clarity around that. That might be who they are with their 5 voices or their Enneagram. It might be some awareness, some EQ, PQ that would actually get them from yellow to green, right? They're not red. They're actually, they're on the fence. And the thing that will get them to green will be some awareness first. And that awareness, those insights at the individual level will lead to that awareness. But then at the individual level, they'll begin to have some actions around that. And then that'll lead to kind of a performance or a behavior change, right? But that clarity is important for them to have, not confusion, which is what your biggest definition of the yellows is. There's confusion. They don't know which way they want to go.
Yeah, awareness.
Versus clarity.
Yep. So I like what you're saying. If they already know their Enneagram number here, they know their 5 voices, they probably have interacted in mentoring. And it's like, can they go in the direction of the green, not stay static in the yellow and not fall to the reds? But it's up to them. It's all in here. It doesn't matter what happened to you. It's in here. It's how you process it. If something happened in here, it's really bad and I trigger all the time, people will not take me to the party or to the function. What they'll do is just leave me out here as a scream and holler an angry person or a screaming and holler emotional person. That makes sense? So we got to get them to line up and just not trigger, move forward with us and maybe experience it a little bit. Just practice with us a little bit. Practice with us greens. Let us walk you into, if nothing else, let us show you what green looks like and you can pick better.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Last one is your greens at PMI. What's your, they're the ones that are really listening to this. They're already agree with you as we're going through this process, but what's your message to them?
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being in my life. And thank you for contributing. Thank you for the respect and the love. And wow, I'm 64 and I have people that want to buy the company all the time. I could leave right now. The only reason I'm here is because of greens. I'm not here for the reds and yellows. If this company is all red and yellow, I'd sell this bitch in a heartbeat. I just go home and count my money, right? But it's the greens, the unity with them, what they do every day, how they cover things that are beyond their pay grade. They're just awesome, and they're not most of them are not really what I call for sale people. A lot of people, you can watch people's resumes, and I did interviews on Monday, and one guy in there, he said, "When you look at my resume, I've moved around a lot." I'm like, why would I want to hire you? You look to me like you get a job 1 year and change your mind. Either find you out or you change your mind. I'm not wasting a year. He's like, well, I think I'm ready to change. I'm like, well, I hope so, because I'm just letting you know where I'm at. But you see, when you can look at a person's resume and you can see kind of their loyalty levels and makes sense? Mm-hmm. Yep, so these are all signals of things. But it's like, I told that guy, it's like, whether you make it here or you don't make it here, that's killing you, because those of us that are business leaders, we see that, we're not undertaking you. Mm-hmm. So just stuff like this. But the greens keep you here. Yeah, the greens are incredible. They're just, and again, the reds that went to green, that I get, that right there is I fed those sheep. That makes sense. Those people have become, a lot of people are my apostle, so to speak. They're from me, and it's not exactly like the Jesus way, but I've showed them something and they believed. And they've taken these beliefs and used them for their own lives and the betterment of themselves and the betterment of their family. So, I have like 55 apostles, but I need to have 100 before I die, like 45 more to build out before I decide to not do it anymore. So, but man, awesome. There's one guy here that just comes to mind every time. His name's Austin. Started off red, went to one division, leader of division, like, get his ass out of here. I putting up with this guy's shit. And I remember interviewing him, he's a Wildcat. Man, so proud of that guy. He's flaming green right now. And it's just like, I went outside one time and just wanted to go outside and see him. Like, what happened? How did this happen? That you went from being disposed of in one division to being the number one choice or in the top 10% choice in the division you're in. Mm-hmm. What happened? He's just like, I just want to grow up and want to take care of my family. I'm like, I hope I contributed
he bought a house,
somehow.
Right? He
bought his own house, owns his own home.
Man.
Things are settling in. That right there, that is where we want to be at. We want everybody at Power Mechanical to own their own home, because in America, there's no wealth in renting. People don't realize that. You got to own your own home. You have to have a 401k. That's the basic person's wealth. Mm-hmm. And we want people, doing that, because they got to get ready for retirement. Yeah. So all these things are in there, but you can just see the passion. I get pretty passionate about redness, because there's a lot of wrongs in there, a lot of dirty in there, and I'm not real nice about that. Yeah. I'm not real like, hey buddy, how you doing? I'm like scorched earth is coming. Okay, but I'm gonna try real hard to work it out for you, right? But not really. So I'm saying, because I just let them know, it's like, this is not going to go well for you, but I'm not gonna be nice about it, because they've already betrayed us with their behavior. Interviewed green, asked for the money, and then pulled back. Mm-hmm. There's more capitalists at the labor level in America than there is at the business level, because I'm in all kinds of business groups, and a lot of people say business people are there's more thievery at the labor level than there is at the business level, because I'm in both. Mm-hmm. Okay, that person that comes in that's red like that, he's capitalizing on it, isn't he? I'm just saying, stop it, because everybody knows. At PMI, we talk about that all the time. If I pull out a piece of paper in a meeting and people could turn it in with no name, they get this 95% correct with what I'm thinking. They already know, they just won't say. So see the disrespect that's going on. The relationships are fractured. There's a disconnect there. They don't help people because of that. Man, so we got to try to get those people out of red, try to get them out of yellow, try to get them to green, so they can take off and go.
Rick, thank you for today. It's awesome.
We're good.
Yeah, learning the leader's furnace, green, yellow, red. And just understanding that as we move through the illusion sometimes can be not knowing where our people are at, not being able to call it, and therefore own it and respond and execute on, how healthy people are moving, being able to kind of have a system for labeling the people in our life. And so having that, even from PMI, you giving us your tribal story is really helpful. Thank you for today.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.